Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the APTAT webinar, the reschedule. Today we are going to be doing creating classroom materials with LessonPix. We do have some slides today. I'm going to put those in the chat really fast here for those that are just joining us. It is a bit.ly link, so it's going to be bit.ly/LessonPix APTAT. So it's going to be capital L for lesson, capital P for Pix, that's P-I-X, and then APTAT, all capitalized. And like I said, it's in the chat for you as well. All right, oh, wrong button. There we go. So just some quick housekeeping. Please feel free to type questions in the chat throughout the session. Occasionally our presenters like to stop, see if there's questions, but if nothing else, we'll make sure that we are addressing those at the end. If you prefer to ask your questions verbally or on the microphone, just make sure you wait until the very end for that, just so that way we're not interrupting the flow of the session. And then of course, all our sessions are recorded and will be available through our YouTube channel, and that is youtube.com/@ and then APTAT. So if you need to run away or if you need to come back to it later, don't worry, we've got you covered. So just briefly, allow me to introduce our program, Accessing Potential Through Assistive Technology, or APTAT. We are Alabama's AT-ACT program. Our mission is to increase knowledge, access, and acquisition of assistive technology throughout the state of Alabama. We do that through several programs and services, including our short-term device loan program. So if you want to borrow any assistive technology, you can do so through our lending library for up to 30 days. We have a reutilization program, so you can take donated durable medical equipment that has in one of our 5 centers throughout the state, free of charge. We provide a variety of different trainings for all your PD, staff development, or just personal needs, including these monthly webinars, but we also do customized trainings for your organizations. We also provide technical assistance for a variety of different companies and organizations, and then also resources for financial assistance. So if you're looking to know about some different grants and funding sources and opportunities, we're actually halfway through our funding series that we're doing. We just started it on Monday and we have 2 more to go this week. We have talked with the Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services, a couple of their different programs. We talked to Senior Services today. We'll be talking to the Department of Mental Health tomorrow, and then we'll be talking to some community partners on Thursday. So I will definitely have links to our social media that will give you more information about how to get to those trainings. It's been really informative. We've been really excited to have all those partners and collaborations for those. So what is the AT-ACT program, and a little bit more about us in terms of who can access us? We are available to anyone in Alabama, so that can include individuals with disabilities, parents or caregivers, service providers, or companies and organizations that are interested in assistive technology to benefit their employees and their customers. We are housed under ADRS, or Alabama Department of Rehab Services, but you do not have to be enrolled as a consumer of ADRS to receive our services. So if you're like, I'm not a person with a disability, or maybe I have a disability, but I'm not receiving services through them, doesn't matter. We are here for everyone. All right, so I'm going to jump to the fun stuff as fast as we possibly can. I am thrilled and delighted to welcome Beth Poss as our special guest speaker for today. She is the Director of Educational Programs for LessonPix. And then I just did a very quick bullet point of all her other roles that she has had. This includes the Educational and Technology Consultant, an Accessibility and Inclusion Advocate, a Speech Language Pathologist, former special education administrator and a former assistant principal. So I think pretty much you've covered the gambit, I think, Beth. So I feel like,
I've
how they
been
have like
around for a really long time, so
there's got to be, how like they have the EGOTs. I feel like there needs to be something for all the different areas that you've covered. So so I'm thrilled. I'm going to let her take it away. I'm going to put another just repost our link to the slides in the chat, and then that way you will be able to get all the goodies that Beth's going to be talking about today. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
and I'll start sharing my screen so that we can. So hopefully everybody is seeing my screen with no problem. I'm going to make sure I've got the chat still up. There we go. Awesome. So hi, everybody. Thank you guys so much for having me. I know we are rescheduled from last month. I had a lot going on unexpectedly last month, so I'm so glad we were able to switch things to today. And, we're going to talk about classroom resources and materials that you can create and find in LessonPix. And it is the first day of spring officially, by the way. And so I've got a presentation that has a lot of really, really bad spring puns in it. So I will apologize in advance to anyone who does not get my sense of humor, but that's where I'm at, right? It's a few spring puns. There is a link to the slide deck that I'm going to be sharing in the slides that Jessica put a link to in the chat, but you can also grab this slide deck using this QR code there. Either way, so you'll be able to get it either it's in the slides that Jessica has, or you can grab it this way. If you ever need to get a hold of me, if you want to reach out to me after the webinar is over, you can always reach me at beth@lessonpix.com. And I'm going to just jump right in because there's so much good stuff to share. So, right, LessonPix will put a spring in your step with these resources. These are just a handful of some of the types of resources that you can create with LessonPix, and I'll go a little more into detail. Visual schedules, articulation resources, community boards, communication boards, literacy supports, math supports, games, puzzles, recipes, writing resources, custom dice, stick puppets, and so much more. And by the way, I'm going to have a slide on this at the very end, but I just want to let people know right up front, LessonPix is an affordable solution. It is only $36 a year for an individual subscriber license. We also have group licensing rates, and I have a link later on in the slides for a free 2-month trial for everybody that's watching this. For those of you that are watching the recorded version, I think I've got enough in there for about 100 free 2-month trials. So when we hit that max, but I figured, that should cover quite a few people hopping on and watching this. So you'll be able to do everything I show you here for at least a couple months. A lot of the resources that I'm sharing are also going to be free resources, regardless of whether you have a LessonPix subscription. And then with that $36 a year for a LessonPix subscription, you'll be able to make all of these things and much more. So I'm going to go right in. I'm going to be flipping back and forth between LessonPix and my slide deck. But this is one of my favorite, this is personally one of my favorite templates. It's called our large and small pictures template. And this one is about what can you find in an egg. But with this particular template, whatever the first picture is that you use to make it, it's the big picture. And then, or the large picture, and then the rest of the pictures that you add to it are your small. Now, everything in LessonPix can be downloaded as a PDF. Makes it really, really easy. Let me just close some things up. It makes it really, really easy to be able to print and share resources. I'll also talk about how everything can also be downloaded as a PowerPoint file, which can also be used as a Google Slides file. But with this particular activity, you can see what's in the egg. It's a good time of year to be talking about eggs, right? It's springtime. It's going to be Easter soon. It's going to be other spring holidays where eggs are just an important part. And you might be studying eggs in a science class, right? And realize that there's a lot of things beyond chicks that come out of eggs. So this is a fun activity where you would have your big picture, you'd be able to cut up the small pictures and have a cutting and pasting activity to do that. So super simple, fun, easy to create resources in LessonPix. I'm going to keep going. Now, we're going to explore all of these amazing features. There's over, and I need to update this slide because there's probably close to 80,000 images in our image library right now. You can customize images to reflect your learners. So we've got diverse images in there, different skin tones, all sorts of images that show clip art style images that have individuals who use assistive technology and assistive devices. We've got access to all of the Unity LAMP Words for Life symbols available as a part of our library. We have a fabulous relationship with the folks at PRC. We've got hundreds of templates, probably about 1,000 templates, and I'll talk a little bit more about those. We've got our sharing center. So, you know, the reality is a lot of times we don't have time to make things from scratch, and I'm going to show you where you can find already created resources. And we'll talk a little bit about some of these other features as well, our interactive play tools and our high contrast images. So I do want to just review really quickly the different types of kind of an overview of the different types of resources that you can create based on our templates, right? These are some of our most used templates, our picture cards, our picture and words, and our picture schedules. And we've got variations on all of these templates, right? So under the picture schedule template, we've got, I don't know, maybe 30 different styles of picture schedules. Some more visuals that you can see. I know it's a lot right there on the page, but everything from creating custom greeting cards, your own books and stories, first then schedules, contingency maps, all sorts of different things that you can use. More visuals, right? That's that large and small picture template that I showed you already. Tab and flap cards, like you need to be able to wear some resources either to support communication or to remind students of behaviors, of expected behaviors. That's one of my favorites for using that. Even something as simple as wristbands so that students can have communication, access to communication quickly and easily, or maybe putting, you know, you're taking students out on a field trip and you want to put important information on that wristband for them. Or actually, I know some teachers that use it to send home important information to parents, like they're going to see that they might not check their backpack, but they're going to see that strip of paper on their child's wrist. So lots of fun things there as well. We've got all of those. Yes, the trifold table tents are fantastic. We've got all of those templates for those paper-based communication supports, whether it is completely low-tech communication supports like multi-page communication books or eye gaze boards, or whether it's those templates that you need to print to use with what I like to refer to as those mid-tech electronic voice output devices. So you're going to find all of those different companies and all of those different devices that our templates will match all of those tools that are out there that you might be using for that. We've got lots of fine motor and writing. This is not just for visual schedules and not just for communication. And we'll take a look at a couple of these as well. Tons of learning games, right? We want learning to be fun, and we know that games are a way that we can do that. So everything from tic-tac-toe to traditional board cards, even adapted board games. So if you've got, if you've gone out and bought Guess Who or Zingo or headbands from Walmart or Target, you can customize those board games to focus exactly on the targets or the words or the concepts that you're working on in your classrooms or in your therapy rooms. Lots and lots of early literacy resources, everything from question cards to semantic maps, to sorting resources, and lots of early math and science as well. And we'll take a look at a couple of those. Clothespin counting is probably my favorite. So let's take a look. You might have used LessonPix before, and I'd love to hear from the folks that are here live. Let me know if, put it in the chat if you have used LessonPix before or if this is brand new to you. But I like starting with something that's already made, right? I am all about, there is not enough time in the day for me to get everything done. And I'm honestly not the most creative person in the world. And so when I can start with somebody else's really awesome idea, then I can get more from that, right? I am not the person that comes up with like the super unique, idea all of a sudden. I take what other people have done. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a book that I actually made that's in our sharing center. And we're going to look at how we can use that book to help us generate multiple resources quickly and easily in LessonPix. These are all linked in the slide deck. So if you've got the slides that Jessica posted, you're going to have a link to this slide deck and you'll be able to get to all of those. This is a free sample, so whether or not you're a LessonPix subscriber, it doesn't matter. You'll be able to download this. Now, some of the other things that I'm going to show you that you can do, you got to be a LessonPix subscriber to do, but everybody gets access to this cute book, right? So this is just a free sample. If I wanted this, I could download this as a PDF, and I'll just show that really quickly. I could also download this as a PowerPoint, and actually what we'll take a look at is how, so if I wanted to put this in PowerPoint to make it switch accessible, right? It'd be really easy to set it up with two switches as a, forward page and backward page, or just a single switch to hit next slide, next slide. I will tell you, it is I'm going to pull it up as the PDF. This is not accessible text, right? I cannot select this text, and I'm going to show you a strategy for getting around that, because it's just a giant image, right? But let's make this a little smaller so people can see it. But here's my simple spring story. In the spring, right? In the spring, I can hear chicks peeping and thunder booming. In the spring, I can see caterpillars crawling and butterflies flitting. So we've got some nice repeated lines. So if you were working on communication, you could have that. In the spring, I can, right? And then we've got some sensory words like hear and see and feel and smell, right? So lots of great things to work on. I really love this too, because I think this is a book that could be very age respectful. I could use it with preschoolers, but I could use it with high schoolers that are working on early literacy skills or early communication skills as well, because these are things that, right? These are things that they talk about, the scent of mown grass, right? I taste jelly beans and fresh peas in a pod. So I tried to make a book that was going to be appealing to everybody, right? But what I'll point out now is, here's this resource. It's free. You all, every single one of you can go in there and download this. You can send this link to all of your friends, and all of your friends can download it. But if you also have a LessonPix subscription, I'm going to take all of the pictures that were used in this resource, and I am going to put them in my tray. Okay. I just click that load all. The tray is where all the magic happens in LessonPix. In LessonPix, when you create materials, you are going to put images into your tray. Now you can do that from an existing resource, or I can also do that by going into our clip art. Oops, I've been logged out. Let's log myself back in. Let's do that one more time. I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to go back to that resource. Let me just grab it. And I'm going to load those pictures in my tray. I need to be logged in order to, like, if I fake loaded them in, but they're not really there before. So now they're in there. I can also get images from our clip art. And I mentioned before, we need to update that. It's probably over 80,000. Our clip art is organized categorically in folders, and I can go through, like if I just wanted to go down to holidays and seasons and go into our spring folder, and maybe I want to get one more picture to add to my tray. Like, we might be talking about, let's just see, like we might be talking about rabbits this time of year. You're going to notice that there are often multiple images for the same word in LessonPix. Sometimes that's just to show different ways, right? There's different bunnies, right? It might be that I want this black and white bunny or this brown bunny. It's also so that we can customize the resources that we're using with our learners. And you'll see differences in images that are based on age, by gender, by skin tone, so that you can choose just the image that you want. But I'm going to go ahead and grab that bunny picture. So I'm going to add that to my tray. I can also search for images. So if I wanted, I saw those pictures of those boots, but I maybe just want, let's see, we've got rain. Let's get some thunder. I'm going to search for thunder. All right, so there's, or lightning. Lightning is good. Okay, we'll go with the lightning one right there. And I'm going to add that to my tray. So I've got some images in my tray. I started off with ones that were already in a resource that I created. So I really quickly loaded those up into my tray, but then I added some additional ones. Now, once I have pictures in my tray, I'm going to go to that Create Materials button, and it is going to take me into our creation wizard. And all of those templates that I breezed through a few minutes ago are all right here, right? So they're there for me to choose. If I was going to make another book, right, that books and stories, I could just use that. If I just wanted picture cards, so that I could create just some choice cards with all of that, I could use my picture cards template. If I wanted pictures and words, maybe to use with those pocket charts that we've often got in classrooms, that's a great one. But I'm actually going to go down and I'm going to make I'm trying to decide. You know what? I think I want to make some stick puppets to go with this. I think I'm going to make some stick puppets to go with this book that we're reading. I know that my learners sometimes need something active to do and to hold while we're reading, because they need to, they need to have that interaction. And so stick puppets are one of my favorites. They're under our early literacy templates, and I'm going to go to that stick puppet. So it's going to give me something that I can put on a craft stick that every student can hold, that we can talk about, we can move. I could use it on a on a board, just so that we've got a little bit more interactivity. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that. Now you're going to see the text in here that was in the book, right? This is the text that was in the book. I actually don't really want that text. I could take it out and just change it, right? I could take it out and just change it. But for this particular one, it's not going to really make a difference, because I'm not going to have any text at all with these pictures. They're just going to be puppets, and I'm not going to have them labeled, but it's there. I'll talk about being able to translate into other languages in a little bit, but let's just go ahead. I've got all my pictures in there. I'm going to click next. These are going to be my spring book puppets. And I've got a drop down menu here, because maybe I want like big ones, the 7-inch ones. It's going to be basically a page, but I might want some smaller ones, or I might even have little guys where I'm going to use them as finger puppets and they're going to wrap around my finger, but I'm going to keep them with the big one. And I'm just going to click finish, and it's going to generate that. And again, I can easily download that as a PDF, because I'm going to cut these out and put them on my craft stick, right? And I've got, give you the directions, cut out, perfect, right? Sometimes we just need something really easy that we hand to our paraeducator or our parent volunteer in our room, and it's got all the directions right there. Cut out the picture, laminate the cutout, attach a craft stick, right? And so I've got all of those pictures there ready. These are like big. Ready so we can have that interactivity with that. Now, once I've got these images, I'm going to just click done. Once I've got these images in my tray, I can keep working with them. So I can go create materials, and this time, you know what? I need a math activity to go with this. And then if you remember before, I said I loved clothespin counting cards. Let's go and find that. Now, I could scroll all the way down to the math templates, but if I kind of have an idea of what the name of this is, I can just start typing in, it's a search bar, and there we go, clothespin counting cards. It's going to come right up. Again, I'm not going to worry about the text on there. I could just take it out if I needed to, but I'm not worrying about it. It's not actually going to show up with this particular resource. And I can decide where are my kids counting to? So spring counting cards. And I'm going to say we're working on numbers up to 20. I did, by the way, recently put in a request to the folks that have more technical power than I do in LessonPix. I feel like ending on 24 is such an odd, strange number to end on. So I said, can we do 25 or even 30? Like, it would just be so much better. So they said that was a good idea. We just came back from one conference and are heading to another conference next week. So maybe it'll happen after those conferences. In any case, I'm going to work on counting with my students up to 20. I'm going to click finish. And I want you to notice, I didn't like double or triple or make 20 of any of the pictures in my tray. the magic is all gonna happen in the software. It's gonna take just a second to generate. It's got a lot of pictures that it's gotta work on. So we'll give it just a second. I'm gonna cross my fingers that nothing happens. I've been having a little bit of issues when I use this template. It always works, but I've been having a little bit of issues of it. It spins on me. So I need to.
I do appreciate at the bottom of it where it says, just think about
Yes,
how long it would take
yes,
by hand. So
I
I
know.
appreciate that.
Um, I'm gonna it's been taking, every time I do this particular one, it's been taking longer. And I don't know if it's just me. I'm never sure, is it just me or is it that? But we're gonna give it another second to finish. If it doesn't, I'm gonna X out of it and I bet it's gonna be there anyway, and we'll just find where it is. But we'll just give it one more minute. But anything you can think of that you want to do with those. If I wanted to make a springtime bingo board or a board game, those are all going to be resources that I can quickly and easily create with those same images in my tray. So super fast in a really short amount of time. Okay, this is going to drive me crazy, so I'm just going to X out of it. And I think there's a really good chance it's going to be right here under the Your LessonPix tab. Well, this is the same thing that keeps happening to me. I think there might be, I'm going to ask them to check. There may be a slight glitch with that one template. All right, we're gonna go back over here. I'm gonna show you an example of it that I'd already made. Whoops, it should be right here. Let's try that one more time. I think this is definitely a me issue because I did this all last week on another computer at a conference and it was loading just fine. So we're just going to move on from this just for a second. I'm going to close those out for just a second. But this is what those clothespin counting card looks like. It's going to give you the correct answer and 2 foils, and it's going to all the way up to 20. It's going to use those pictures that we used in our tray and have students be able to practice that counting. But we're going to move on from that right now. We'll see. Hopefully we'll come back to that in a minute, and it will be all good to go. Now, I know a big part of what Accessing Potential does is support individuals who use augmentative and alternative communication. And a lot of folks that are out there might have gotten augmentative and alternative communication devices, AAC devices, through Accessing Potential. But we know it doesn't happen overnight, right? We don't automatically have high-tech devices, robust high-tech equipment for every individual. And sometimes the place that we're starting is with paper-based supports. And so there's a lot of wonderful paper-based supports that are available in LessonPix. Let's hope that this opens up without any issues. There we go. Yay. Okay, excellent. Good. And so this is, again, this is a free sample of a core board that is available for anybody to be able to download and be able to use. I'm actually going to clear my tray and take those things out. And I can simply download this as a PDF. It's going to come up and anybody can print this out. Now this has space on top for you to add like a flipbook style fringe vocabulary to go with this. But this communication board is free and available for anybody to use. Now that's a low tech system for somebody that's a direct selector that's able to point. But we know that a lot of times we've got individuals with complex bodies that, and here's an example, by the way, of like a fringe board. Whoops, as I go to click on things that's not there, of a fringe board that I might use to talk about the weather along with that core vocabulary. But we also have a lot of resources. One of my favorite templates is our, for complex bodies. And one of my favorite resources for that is using our eye gaze board. This is a really unique template, and I'm going to show you why. This particular version of it that Lori Binko, who is the owner and co-founder of LessonPix that she created, this is set up as a partner-assisted scanning system where you've got, with just 6 main boxes there and then a yes and a no, you've actually got access to 36 vocabulary. But if I download this, what I want to show you that's so unique about our eye gaze board, and this is true for any of our eye gaze boards that you use, any of our eye gaze template, anything you make in it. So let's pretend this is what the AAC communicator is seeing, right? You're holding it in front of your face. You cut this area out so that you can have eye contact with that individual, or not eye contact. They don't have to look at you. They're looking at the board, but you can see what their eyes are looking at. But without peering around to see what's on there, you might not know what's there. So what our template does is it gives you a 2-page version, and it gives you the mirror image, right? The mirror image of that same board. So if you take, why mirror image? If you take your hands, if the communication partner is looking at this and you're looking at this, you want it to be a mirror image. So when they look at your thumb, you're also looking at your thumb. It's your hands are a mirror image, so is this. So it gives you a 2-sided version of the communication board so that you can see exactly the same view that they are seeing. It makes it so much easier to be able to do that. Now we have a brand new feature, a brand new tool in LessonPix. We just debuted this officially at the end of the year. It's called our grid books. Up until now, you could create resources in LessonPix, and you could re-upload the images into the tray and remake something, but you could edit what was already made. And we've been having requests for years. Can we edit? Can we edit? People also wanted to be able to have different sized cells within the same communication board, instead of saying that everything is going to be like a 1-by-1 cell. And so we've been able to do that now with our new grid books. And so here's a couple of examples. And I'm actually going to go ahead and pull, I'm going to just try and decide. I'm going to pull this one up. So this is one actually that I just recently made. We have it, if you went to CEC, this is a communication playground board that we made, and we gave away 2 great big vinyl communication boards at CEC. By the way, if you make a communication board that you want to use as a playground board in LessonPix, you are welcome to do that. We have a little image that you can put on that says used with permission by LessonPix. And because of the quality of our images, they are SVG images, you can take a board that, on paper is an 8-by-11 communication board on a paper, and blow it up and have it be a 4 foot by 6 foot or larger board, and it's not going to degrade the images. It's not going to make them all grainy. So it makes it really, really easy. Now, if I was to go and just download this as a PDF, it would just be a PDF that I can't change. But if instead I go to open this book in Grid Books, our new Grid Books tool, it's going to come in and it's going to give me all ready for me to work in and edit this. Now, this is a playground board, and that might be perfect, right? Now, I could go in and I could change something like maybe instead of, I'm just trying to think, like maybe instead of this ball, I'm going to search for a football. Instead, I can go in, I can search for my images in LessonPix. And if I wanted a football instead of one of those balls, I can just click and drag, and it's going to pop that and change that football, right? It's going to put this in our little scratch pad in case I want to get back to it. But the other thing that I could do, this is using a core board of, like, most of the words on here are kind of your everyday, you're going to use these over and over again. I do have a few words, right? Like these here, that are probably like these bottom 2 rows, right? These parts here that are probably pretty specific to outdoor play, PE, or a playground. And, but I might want to, for consistency, for motor planning and all of that, be able to use this same rest of this, but change this out for different activities or different contents that I may be doing. So the new grid boards makes it super easy to do that. I can go here where it says page and duplicate this page. And now it's going to give me, that was my playground board. And now here's my copy of my playground board. So I'm actually toggling back and forth between 2 different pages. Kind of technology doesn't let you see that. And I can go out and now I could search for maybe, so instead of this vocabulary here, maybe I want this to be something like more for, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, maybe I want this to be more for something like school kind of activities, right? So I can do that same search, right? I'm just going to go back to my search and maybe I'm going to have, let's do school. I'm just going to get some school related words, right? I could go into our school schedule and instead I'm going to put things like, instead of football and chalk, I'm going to put things like bus and centers and circle time. This would be if I had younger kids, right? Certainly older kids, I might do something different. Maybe we're going to have things like, let's find some things like lunch and let's find, oh, we've got reading, right? And we might have, and this is where you can see there's different, look at all these options for reading, right? Based on age, based on gender, based on skin tone. So you can really customize things for the children that you're working with. Maybe we're going to have recess and let's just get one more. Math. This is all in alphabetical order, so I should be able to find math, right? So I can go in and easily change that. If I needed to change some of these instead, like I could have words like, let's just search for right. And I won't take the time to choose everything, to change everything right now, but I could have like the word right instead of catch. And I could go through and I could change that. If I needed to make that color, like I color coded these as based on that Fitzgerald key, I can just go in and I can change that background and make it the color that I wanted it to. And so we've got that. So now you're going to see, right? I've got my playground board and I've got my, and I'm going to change the name of that to, instead of saying copy of, let's, here we go, page. I should be able to go to page settings. There we go. And this is instead going to be my school schedule board. Right, so now, and I could change the background color of it so that the tabs are different so that when we print this out, we're going to be able to differentiate. Like I had taken that one off. This is okay. Now I can even, now I could have changed the number of cells in this, and I can even do things like maybe I really want to make sure that, I don't know, let's just make stop really big. I'm going to make stop a really big word. Like maybe I wanted to make sure that the word stop is bigger, like that they can find that it's so important that somebody can tell us stop. Now it's going to have tossed out the images that I had in that place, right? It took over 3 other images, but I could decide I'm going to put those in somewheres and I can even hit undo and it's going to take it back for where it was. So not only can I duplicate that board, remake it, make it into something different, but I can also change the sizes of it. And if I needed this to be a larger board, I could have started from scratch. Or if I want to go back to this page settings, I could even add, like if I wanted to add an additional row on the bottom, let's update that. And now I've got a blank row on the bottom, so I can add more in there. So it's a super awesome, flexible tool that I can now use. Things that I've never been able to do before, I can change in Gridbooks. So exciting, right? Really, really cool to be able to do that in ways that we couldn't do that before. And there's a lot of other, it doesn't just have to be communication boards. This is one I really, really love that somebody, Lori did this. And if I were to download it, right? If I download it, it's just a PDF, right? It's actually going to have 2 pages. This is a snack time map, right? So we've got our vocabulary here, perfect for like a pre-K classroom where everybody's working on language, not just our kiddos that are using AAC, right? So having that vocabulary, lots of kids don't have the word for blueberry yet, or fruit pouch or whatever. And so we've got that vocabulary. And then it's got one for Play-Doh, like another one. So that Play-Doh, that great Play-Doh vocabulary with a place to put your Play-Doh and play with your Play-Doh. So it gives kind of that defined space. So right now, this is just a PDF. I can't do anything with it, but if I were to open that up in our group books, right? Here it is. And I could change, like if I'm like, we don't use fruit pouches in our classroom, like they're so expensive. We're not giving the kids fruit pouches in our classroom, but we do give them carrots, and I could switch that. So super exciting. I could go on and on about that, but I've got so many other things to show you guys. So back to my bad spring puns, we can put the pedal to the metal. LessonPix has high contrast images. So if you have students or clients who are have low vision or cortical visual impairment, and you want to be able to have access to high contrast images, we've got you covered. I'm going to show you 2 different ways you can get high contrast images in LessonPix. I went into our clip art folder, by the way, and under our core vocabulary folder, we have a couple of folders with some limited, already created high contrast images. The high contrast core, which is based on that Project Core 36 vocabulary, where we've got some important words. And you can see these have been created specifically for low vision or cortical visual impairment. The symbols are simpler. They're not just it's not just a high contrast version. If they're simpler, there's fewer lines and the colors are bright, and they're available with either a black background or a transparent background. But this is a limited set. And then we have one other, if I use my breadcrumb trail here to go back to my core vocabulary folder, we have some additional words that are nouns, kind of everyday common nouns that you might be using. But in reality, you can make any image in LessonPix a high contrast image. So I'm going to go into our nature folder, since we're kind of talking about springtime, and I'm going to go to plants, and we're not talking about acorns this time of year, but we might be talking about carrots or daffodils, right? Let's go change up our daffodil. Now, if you noticed before, when I was putting images into my tray, I just click the plus sign and it pops an image into my tray. But if I want to make this a high contrast image or change anything else about this image, I am going to just click on the image, and there's our it's going to show me a great big version, right? This is a high definition version of this. And I'm going to go to this recolor and customize tool. Now, there's actually a lot of things that I can do with this. I could actually make this into a blue daffodil if I wanted to, or a purple daffodil. I don't think there is such a thing, but if I wanted to, for whatever reason, I could do that. I'm not going to show you that. That's another tip for another day, but I am going to show you how quick and easy it is to make this a high contrast image. Where it says high contrast filters, I'm going to click add filters. It's going to brighten it up. It's going to take, there were various shades of yellow in there. It's taken those various shades of yellow and made it all just one shade of yellow. It added a thicker black outline to it, and there's also a white outline to make it pop. Now, if I was happy with this, I could just click Save Custom Symbol and it would be good to go. But if I knew that my this individual would do better if it had a colored background, I could easily do that as well. So I can simply, where it says right now, known, I can simply uncheck that, click on that color box, and maybe black is perfect, but maybe the teacher of the visually impaired had said, no, that student really needs a blue background or a red background, whatever's going to work best for them. I change it to that color and it updates it. And now I have this as a custom image. That's a high contrast image that I can use. Again, if I wanted it to have that black background, that's great. But for some individuals, it's not really, the black background isn't necessarily the best background. They might need a different background to help it pop for them. And it's right there and it's available and it's going to exist. If I go back into that, oh, this is the spring. Same, it's in more than one place, that image, but it's right there. It's going to be available. If I were to search for daffodil, it's going to come up along with all of my other daffodil pictures. Now, this is going to show up in my LessonPix library. It's not going to be in yours unless you make it. It's in my personal LessonPix library. All right, let's head back into our slide deck as I keep an eye on the time. And speaking of time, time marches on. So we've got visual schedules. Now, you guys might usually think about visual schedules for helping a student transition from one activity to another, that type of thing. But a visual schedule is great for sequencing of ideas, for helping, with a recipe or other kinds of different steps of a task that somebody might need to do. And we've got, as I said before, about 30, happy fingers today, about 30 different visual schedules that are available, visual schedule styles. We've got thousands of visual schedules that are in our sharing center, and I'll show you where those are actually. Let me take you into the sharing center for just a minute. So I'm going to head, here's our sharing center tab right there. And the sharing center has thousands and thousands, well over 50,000 different resources that LessonPix subscribers have chosen to add to our sharing center. By default, when you make something in LessonPix, it's private and nobody else is going to see it, but you are always given the option to share that resource when you create something. And when you share it, it goes into the sharing center. Now, things come into the sharing center by recency. So there you can see somebody made some springtime flashcards. Somebody's got some springtime find the picture activities for some articulation work, maybe as a speech language pathologist. They've got some spring trials where they're keeping track of stuff. And these are all things that were just created in the last couple of days. I think it's spring break in some places, usually when I can't even get to the end of the page, and it'll just be things from that day, but it might be spring. Oh, don't touch that flower. There's all sorts of cute stuff. But if I was specifically looking for visual schedules, I could do a couple things. I could search under material type, and there's our picture schedule template, and it's going to filter by just things that were created in that using that picture schedule template. Like we've got a getting dressed sequence, and it looks like a green grog punch, or somebody was making something yummy for looks like probably St. Patrick's Day, right? We've got lots of different visual schedules. Getting ready for winter recess, not in Alabama anymore. There's no winter recess, hopefully, in Alabama. Maybe some of you guys that are coming in from Indiana, or I heard it was actually snowing in Wisconsin this weekend. So, in some places we still might need that. So these are all, like, here's a plant a seed one. So these are all resources that are ready for you to use and simply download. So even when you don't have time to create resources, they are available in the sharing center. So I can filter by the material type, but maybe I don't know the different template types that we've got. I can also filter here under these different categories, right? So maybe I was looking for communication boards. I could go under here and go to alternative and augmentative communication, and I'm going to find different communication boards. Like there's that playground board. Somebody made a potato head activity for a quick talker. We've got a custom board that goes along with the book, Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus, right? So lots of different things that people have created. Now, it's however they tag it. Like, I don't know that this would be, I wouldn't necessarily consider this an augmentative communication activity. It looks like it's a reading activity, but that person chose to tag it as that. So it's whatever they tagged it as. We don't monitor. But here's one, somebody made a cheap talk overlay. You'll often see, like I saw something where it was like a LAMP 8 core. So maybe somebody, as they're teaching somebody the LAMP system, and they just want to focus on a few symbols at a time. So they might create a communication board that's going to mimic that high-tech robust device as a way of supporting learning the language and learning the motor plan on there without necessarily changing that student's device, just having a low-tech version of it. So super easy to be able to find things and use things in the sharing center. Again, some more things in here in the sharing center. This is linked directly to some springtime activities. So we actually have a lot of articles here. We've got some different thematic units. This one is all about spring. And if I go to those, you can see these are some different thematic units that we've got here, right? Like apple and bee and dinosaur themes or farm theme templates. This one was spring. And so there's some ready-made resources that all you have to do is click on that resource and it is ready for you to download it and be able to use it. Another really fabulous resource for finding things really quickly is our story, our storybook section of LessonPix. So this is a really, if you haven't checked out this book before, it's called Spring Stinks, and it is adorable. It's about a bear that has seasonal allergies. I'm sure some of you can relate to that right now. And his little bunny friend who appears to have no seasonal allergies and just keeps throwing pollen and flowers in his face. But the bear thinks that spring stinks. And so this is from our In a Story section of our website. It's right there. And again, it's ready to go resources. So if I wanted those stick puppets to use while we're retelling it, vocabulary, maybe I need some comprehension questions. We've read the book and maybe I'm going to send it, home with families for them to be able to have some additional support with it, some story sequencing, and these are ready for me to be able to use. I'm going to clear that tray, and they're just ready for me to be able to use. Again, same thing. If I wanted to remake this for some reason, I'm going to click load all and put those all in my tray. This is in English. Maybe send this home for a family who's read this book, but I know that home language is not English and I want to translate that. I'm going to go remake this. It's those question cards. I'm gonna, hang on, I'm gonna check and see. Yeah, question cards. I just wanted to make sure what version of that, what template. So this is our question cards. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna go next. It's got everything in here. The only thing I'm gonna change with this is I'm gonna go to translate and I'm gonna choose Spanish because I know that this family is a Spanish speaking family and I'm gonna hit translate. It is going to change everything to Spanish. It's not going to keep the English, just a word of warning. It's not going to keep the English, but if I needed to, I could retype the English in there as well. Now we have this ready. I'm going to click next. Now it uses Google Translate. It's as good as, or as bad as Google Translate is. I do not speak Spanish, but I would usually try to check the accuracy of it with somebody who is a fluent speaker. But again, we know because of artificial intelligence that these translation tools are getting better and better. And I can go ahead and I can even have some writing lines on it. I think that one did have some writing lines. And I'm going to go ahead and click finish. And it's going to have so quickly translated that resource and now have it available. Again, I think this is a me problem, not a, nope, there it is. Excellent. Yay. And it's ready for me to be able to have my Spanish version of it for family that I want to send this home to and have them be able to ask, because we know how important it is for our families to feel that their home language is valued and to get more buy-in for follow-up and doing homework, right? It's just one easy way to be able to do it. I have like 6 minutes left and let me make sure I get through. I don't know if we have any SLPs on here, but I do want to just really quickly show you guys the Sound Finder tool. It's also great for if you're working on reading and you're working on some particular letters or sounds. So the Sound Finder tool lets you, I'm going to clear my tray, lets you search for images based on a sound in that word. We also have our letter finder, which will let you find things based on a letter in the word. We know sometimes there's a difference, right? We have letters that make more than one sound, and we have sounds that are represented by more than one letter. So I'm just going to demo the sound finder version, right? So maybe I am working on, like, as this SLP, maybe I'm working on SP words like in spring. So I'm just going to type in any word that has the sound that I'm working on. Doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to select the letters. It's going to spell it out for me in IPA, International Phonetic Alphabet, for those of you that are not speech language pathologists or linguists. It's just the way that sounds are represented with their own symbol set. You can see how the I and the NG, that's the symbol for an NG. But an S and a P just look like an S and a P. I want those at the beginning of the word. I can even set the number of syllables. I can click find words. And it is going to find words that have that, right? So we could have spa and spy and spin, right? It allows me to quickly and easily, let's do spitting in the sink instead of spitting at people. It allows me to quickly and easily find images that match that criteria. So I can really quickly and easily, that is not a spade, that's a heart. I can quickly and easily find resources, create resources, find images, and create resources that allow me to, I think we could have spice. Now, hey, I just want to point out, we have a restricted image set. There is vocabulary that people need access to, but we don't necessarily want those pictures coming up just randomly in our searches. And so we do have a restricted vocabulary set. That's one of the words that would be in it. But that we know sometimes we need visual representations of those images, whether it's for augmentative communication users to be able to talk about them, or whether it's because we need to teach different content and different subjects, or have a way for an individual to be able to, maybe you need to create a visual schedule to support somebody with, certain bathrooming situations, right? And so we want to have that. So those are there as well. Hang on just a second. Hang on, sorry. Somebody just texting me that I have to respond to.
So while we're paused, I think our captioning for some reason got disconnected. There is a link in the chat. So if you click on that link, it will take you to a separate window where you can view those captions. So.
Okay, so I've got like 2 minutes left. We've got more here that I'm not going to get a chance to talk about. Our fine motor activities, amazing literacy resources, resources that align if you are using the Retopia or Retopia Go curriculum from Building Wings, loads of games, integration with PowerPoint and Word and other resources. But the really important thing I want to make sure everybody gets is that, and I'm going to put this link in the chat for people to be able to have, is that access to a free 2-month trial. So if you click on that link, it will give you access to that free 2-month trial. You also have that available in the slide deck, and I'll put that link to the slide deck also in there. It's also in the slides that Jessica shared. So that was a lot of information in a really short amount of time. I'm going to give you just one last slide up here about our group licensing information and our costs. So single users are $36 a year, but when you get to 10 licenses in a group, it's a 10% discount. When you get to 25 licenses in a group, it's a 15% discount. And when you get to 100 licenses in a group, it's a 20% discount. We have free training available for all of our groups. So whether it's something like this or just a more step-by-step demo of how to do everything, we are happy to provide that via webinar to any of our groups. So I'm going to stop talking. We've got like 1 minute left, and I'm going to
Sure. So while I get my slides set up, because I don't know if our audience is familiar with Retopia, can you just kind of go back to that slide, and while I find my slides,
happy to,
and just talk to people about it, because that is such a wonderful literacy resource. I remember really liking it for classrooms that I worked with in my district. So just kind of let everybody know what that is.
Yeah, so I'll go right into our article on it. So Retopia and Retopia Go are a comprehensive pre-K through high school literacy and curriculum solution from Building Wings, from the company Building Wings. And we partnered with Building Wings to provide supplemental resources that can be used with Retopia. It is a curriculum that is aligned with the science of reading. It's based on the work of Dr. Karen Erickson and Dr. David Copenhaver. So if you've read Comprehensive Literacy for All, it's based on that work. It has phonics, it has the phonics component, it has a reading comprehension component, it has science, it has math, it has social studies. So it's got all of those things. And because we thought it was such an awesome curriculum, we wanted to provide some resources, one of which is a completely free, downloadable 30-page communication board set with the Project Core 36 location, or actually this is a 48 location, base, and then fringe vocabulary here. This was designed by Dr. Karen Erickson and Dr. Caroline Musselwhite. That was they were the ones that came up with the vocabulary for it. It goes with building, I mean, it goes with Retopia, but it can be used really universally across lots of different communications. So, you know, sometimes if you're just looking for that quick resource for someone as you're hopefully making that move to a more robust system, that's a great way to go. And there's lots of resources in the Sharing Center. So if I were to search in the Sharing Center for Retopia, lots of additional resources are going to come up. So whether it's those communication boards or whether it's resources that people have created to go along with different units, like the unit Journey to the Center of the Earth, or resources like our postcard template that goes with the Tuskegee Airmen unit. So people have created resources in LessonPix that go along with it. So and then that's Retopia. Retopia Go is just their pre-K version of it, and we have similar resources for that as well. So hopefully,
Right.
and if anybody has any questions, just let me know.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I just wanted to make sure we got a quick plug on that, because that is such a powerful curriculum that is just designed to a T, and I've seen such success with teachers implementing it with their most emergent readers. So now is our time for questions. I know we are like just at 5:02. I did put our survey link in the chat, but we'll hang out for just a few minutes to see if anybody has any questions. I also put our link for our next session, webinar session, there we go, which is next Tuesday actually, and we'll be talking about smart home devices. So we like to cover the age range here at APTAT. Oh, and thank you, Beth, for putting your email in there.
Yeah, so if there's anybody watching the video and you can't ask the question because it's not live, you're welcome to just reach out to me.
Perfect. And then lastly, just you'll have this in the slides, how to get a hold of us. Any questions you have about APTAT, you can reach us at aptat@rehab.alabama.gov. And thank you so much, Beth. This was amazing. I hope everybody learned a lot and they have a chance to explore. I will be honest, it had been a while since I poked around at LessonPix, and I was just floored by some of the templates that are there and the way it just auto-generates those. So I'm really excited to get in there and play around with some stuff. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So thanks, everybody.